Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, September 23rd, 2024 public meeting of the Kansas City Land Bank's Board of Directors. My name is Mike. I serve as the moderator of this meeting. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. And with that, I turn it over to our board chair, Mr. Nate Hennigan.
Thank you, Mike. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry that I can't be there in person with all of you. I had to travel out to the West Coast for work, but I'm so happy that we're all back together. We've got a packed room and looking forward to diving back in. So let's just kick it off with the roll call. We'll start on Zoom just to make it easy. So Nate Hennigan, board chair. Over to Barbara.
Barbara Ioannidis, board member. Sorry,
Okay,
I'm not there in person.
Thanks, Barbara. We'll go around the table, let's see, starting on my left, so with Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca Holderness, board member.
Paul Heinz, board member.
Joanna Dorman, board member.
Eric George, board member.
Sarah Delorto, board member.
Ethel Knox, board member.
Project Starlight, board member.
And with that, we have like a super quorum tonight. So I will entertain a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes as uploaded to YouTube and approve the current meeting agenda.
Motion.
No, second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Yay.
Aye. All right. Seems to be unanimous. Great. So then we'll dive right in with the board chair announcements. Again, welcome back, everybody. Very excited to be back after we had our sort of extended hiatus in August. And of course, welcoming our two newest board members, Paul Heinz and Sarah Delorto. We're very excited to have you both. Also happy to say for the first time in quite a long time, we have a full board. So that's very exciting. Just for everybody's awareness, Paul's going to be joining the ADC Design and Comms committees. And I think I already notified all the committee chairs. Sarah's still getting onboarded. We'll get you assigned and appointed to some committees shortly, but welcome both of you. Again, sorry I can't be there to meet you both in person, but very much looking forward to working with both of you. Next up, we're still have ongoing work for our project of 6 homes, which we're sort of calling still AHRP. I still would like to, and I've just been just as bad at this, but would like to still put out the plea that we please try to come up with like a more marketable name for this 6 home project than AHRP. If anybody has any ideas, please send them to comms or anybody. It would be great to do that.
So when we project homecoming again?
So
What was the problem?
Nate, would you like to take that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak.
I know there was a good reason, but I can't recall.
Yeah, there was one we had floated around with, it was like KCLB homecoming, and I think the thought was, well, I actually forget the reason now. It was a good reason. It was a good reason. If anybody else remembers.
If I could, I think I remember the reaction involved the concept of a homecoming, possibly to somebody really not getting what we're doing, representing that someone's returning. And because of the nature of the homes and that they had been foreclosed on, and then we were not returning the families that had purchased, that had lost the home. I think that's where the name sort of lost steam. But it's a great name on the face of it. That is just, I think that feedback was sort of like knee jerk from a couple of people. So
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I guess I think it might have some unexpected connotations from either a group work or healing or spiritual point of view. Like homecoming is a word that has a lot of different connotations around, so maybe would not take us down the right road. So I mean, in other contexts, it would be a beautiful idea, right? A very spiritual idea, but I'm not sure that that's here.
Yeah. it was a good thought. We workshopped it. I think it was good feedback, but again, I think it would be great as we get closer and closer to, and I'll just jump to this next point that we are, I'm sure it'll come up in the comms committee report that we have the marketing campaign that's going to be starting for those homes. It would be great to have a more marketable branding for them as we start publicizing them to the community. So again, any and all ideas, there's no bad ideas in a brainstorm. I'm happy to collect them if anybody has things they want to send my way, and then we can vote on them. But just think about it. Next thing I wanted to note is Mike and I met with Novo in August about our operating grant funding. Again, because of the weird way that they do their funding process, and tell me if anything I'm saying is wrong, Mike, please jump in. But it's not official yet, right? But based on our conversation, the discussion was around awarding us for the first time a 2-year operating grant, which is great. It gives us a little more stability and ability to plan ahead rather than doing a year-to-year grant. And granting at the $350K mark, which is the same that we got last year. So very fortunate for that, and that was exciting news. We also discussed their openness to also doing sort of project-specific ad hoc grants throughout the year. So, as we move closer and closer towards other new projects we're working on, something to consider, and very much looking forward to continuing our relationship with them. Next, I want to mention, I think I mentioned this the last time we had our board meeting. It hasn't been finalized yet, but we're working on a new volunteer policy. I'm going to email that around. It's mostly related to just making sure that there's no issues with anything that we work on or create during our time as volunteers on the board, that the KCLB has the ability to sort of use them and on an ongoing basis without issue. I'll give a little more in-depth explanation once it's finalized and ready to go out, but just keep an eye out for that. We were hoping to have that done by this meeting, didn't quite get there, just had a couple more tweaks that need to be made. But keep an eye out for that in your emails. And the only other thing I have to report, we've got lots of other exciting things coming up this fall. We have the marketing campaign launching in November. Mike's probably going to talk about a lot of those things in his report. But just wanted to say it's a really exciting time for the organization, and looking forward to having us all get back to work after our refreshing break in August and have the committees dig into these. So with that, I'm going to turn it over, and I'll also say, or actually I don't need to say this yet. We'll turn it over to public comments. I don't think we have any members of the public there. Nope. Okay. Then we will go to the director's report. Take it away, Mike.
Thank you so much, Nate. Really appreciate that, and welcome again. You're going to probably hear it a lot of everybody's intro. Welcome, Sarah. Welcome, Paul. We're so happy to have you. Thank you for volunteering your time. Everything that Nate said, I'm just echoing and making it not as eloquent, but we really mean it. So thank you very much. For context, mine is more of an operational update, and so I have a very streamlined agenda that I put in the board package because I'm making things up until the last minute, which is what I'm trying not to read from right here. But it's our pipeline, which are properties that we're seeking to acquire, that we're hoping to be able to acquire, that we're talking about acquiring, that we may be presented with the opportunity to acquire. And then we move into pre-development as the second category. That's when we've acquired them. So we're doing money, we're doing architecture, we're doing planning, we're doing massing, we're doing studies, we're doing all sorts of things involved in getting to construction. And so when they go into construction, I stop reporting because I don't want to step in anyone else's lane, and that moves to the acquisition, disposition, and construction committee reporting. However, I also report on property sales. That seems to fall sort of in something that Kyle and I work most closely on and report on a monthly basis. As Nate mentioned, we have very exciting campaigns scheduled to start in November. So briefly talk about that. Finally, last but not least, although there is one after this, potential new funding opportunities. That's always something I'm working most closely with Kyle and the Finance Committee to talk about ways in which we're going out, trying to seek funding. Although from time to time, people show up and they're like this, grab that or do this. And so we're always running at it from different angles, but keeping you in the loop about what we're applying for, why we're applying for it, how it's going. Sometimes we apply for things and then we just our updates like we're waiting or we're reading the tea leaves. Other times there's very exciting announcements. Something happened like an hour and a half ago that we'll report out on. So that's the potential new funding opportunities. Once they're secured, the funding, once we have it, it moves to the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee is reporting on what's going on with the funding. How's it, the ins and outs, and actually making sense of all the insanity that goes into securing the funding. And then the final category I have is other, which is everything I forgot to say, and I just mumble my way through it. So I'll try to be brief, but it's been 2 months, and so this might go on for a little bit, but please stop me. If I tend to do this, I will gloss over acronyms. I will try to be mindful and not do that. I will talk about categories and concepts and things that many people in this room we've all talked about. Just stop me because it's better that way, and I don't mean to do it. So thank you. All right, pipeline. So in 2018, the Common Council passed a resolution that resulted in many of our early properties that we acquired from the city. There's one property left. And so from that resolution, we have the opportunity to potentially acquire a very dilapidated building, single-family home, with some junk dumped on it, on a larger site with some topography that goes way up a hill, so it's not really a large buildable site. We need to get the money to figure out if we can actually do anything on that site. So the update for quite some time has been waiting for the money. Specifically, the state of New York has offered us, and we have received significant amounts of funding for one of their programs. When we spend to a certain threshold, which we anticipate will take place in the coming months, we have an opportunity to apply again. So there might be more substantive update as the year goes on. That's one property. Similarly, that was resolution 172. If you hear me refer to that, that's the 22. So resolution 66, which is from 2023, same idea, vacant, sort of a vacant site. It has burnt out boats and burnt out buildings and trash and stuff, but it's a big site. And so if we can secure the money to do something on that site, we may seek to do so. Those are the two. In resolution 134, which passed in, sorry, this is kind of the city of Kingston has a disposition policy that after many years of working and Nate really leading the charge and having the patience and Aaron and everybody else, we finally got the city of Kingston passed its disposition policy last year. That allowed us the opportunity to acquire properties in a pretty regular way as opposed to kind of ad hoc and what's happening. It set out the rules for what we could do. The moment that happened, the federal Supreme Court passed a ruling that put a stop to all of that as far as the way that we had been progressing with our pipeline. So fast forward a year and change, we have, the state of New York has passed a budget that includes provisions for how you can deal with the Supreme Court ruling. So that's for what are called Article 11 proceedings. If you don't pay your taxes, the city takes it through foreclosure, and then they take it through Article 11. That's in the dispo policy. We had it has been amended recently on August 6th by the council to include the second pathway, which is called Article 19A. It's a code enforcement mechanism. It's like a vacant or abandoned property that may still be paying its taxes. That's a methodology for the city to potentially acquire properties and potentially under the dispo policy, potentially have a pipeline of rehab properties to rehab. All of this to say, we will need to wait 2 years after the city acquires those properties for us to be able to receive title insurance. So for our pipeline for many years, what we've been doing for many years has been rehabs. Now it is moving into new construction because we have this sort of clock issue. But my updates on that this month, as I mentioned, the council passed the disposition policy revision to include Article 19A. That's great. We had some desire to have a conversation about some of the technical details that would allow us to have even more homes if that were to pass due to the thresholds. There's if the amount of back taxes is over this amount, then it goes in this other pathway.
It's in the disposition policy.
Thank you.
There's different thresholds.
Please, yeah, please. Anybody jump in if I'm falling down the rabbit hole. So that's the update on Article 19A in the pipeline. Article 11, as I mentioned, New York State had passed provisions in the budget. Finally, there was a bit of a free fall with all of the land banks in the US, but mainly in the 12 states that were affected by the Supreme Court ruling. You couldn't do Article 11 the way you used to do it. How do you do it? So that passed. The city has the opportunity now to proceed. And without saying anything out of turn, I believe that we may hear some good news on that front relatively soon. That's my update on Article 11. Again, we have to wait 2 years to be able to do capital improvements. So, most exciting thing that we can't discuss today is the city held a request for proposals for a site that it owns. It's a former commercial use site in the middle of 2 single-family homes that we own, that we're rehabbing, or we're planning on starting rehabbing. So we hit pause on the rehab of those properties to submit for this request for proposals response. It's an amazing response. Kyle did a great job. I can't include it in your board package until next month because the city of Kingston will announce the awards by October 1st. So get ready next month. There will be some awesome things to discuss. We can dig into, all the different ins and outs and things that went through the ADC committee and all the permutations. And there are several open questions that we have to the city in our response. So their response back to us will dictate what the options are. So that's the most exciting thing. We can't talk about as much, but we will talk about it soon. And then finally, a year and a half ago, in this scramble to try to get new properties and figure it out, there's a group called the National Community Stabilization Trust that promoted itself as an intermediary between lenders and banks that were going through foreclosure proceedings and those that wished to purchase the property from them. Pleaded with the board, and thankfully they approved, allowing us to enter into an agreement with this group. The understanding being, the risk being that if we were offered a property, we had 24 hours to respond. So it's like this weird fast thing that was going to have to happen very quickly. As I've reported for probably the past 18 months, no properties have been offered to us this month. Community Stabilization Trust. But we live in hope. Okay, pre-development. I add some context month to month. So there are 4 properties in pre-development, same as last month. The first property is 3rd Avenue, which is a large 3-acre site that we own and control. We submitted for many millions of dollars of funding. Sometimes there's waiting, sometimes there's reading tea leaves, sometimes there's Kyle digging deep into documents that I don't know how you find it, but we didn't win Schumer's award. We weren't on his short list, so we can take that off the list. We have not won Gillibrand's award, so that's $1 million that we haven't we were shortlisted last year, we were shortlisted this year on her things that she publishes. It has to go through the federal budget process. I have no idea what the success rate of that could be.
So we're still in the running, that's what, not.
We haven't lost. This is what the updates look like sometimes. Well, sometimes the skies part. And so earlier today, I've been sending updates the past week or so about Ulster County's Housing Action Fund, what's going on with that, what is the process. We just got an award letter about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, confirming that the legislature had approved the award. So we got the first round of funding. We got the first piece of funding for 3rd Avenue. It's not the last. Really excited. More to come on that. I believe that Nate is planning to reach out and thank the Ulster County executive and her team. And so that's awesome. And I'm sure greatly appreciated and very timely too. It just happened. So in Kingston, you could beat the papers if you did it in a week.
So Mike, it's been officially approved now, so we can send that draft message out. Okay, cool. I just wanted,
Yes.
yeah, we had a message queued up, but didn't want to send it until it was final because that would have been embarrassing if we thanked her and then it didn't go through or something.
Right?
Yeah, that would do it. I will note that this is the maximum amount that was allowed for the funding category that we applied for, which was affordable homeownership. And again, I would like to thank Kyle for an awesome application. We had no idea what it was going to look like. Thank you. It was really solid, and it's the reason that we were awarded, because I don't know how else we got awarded other than a great application, but it's a great project. More updates to come on that in pre-development. More substantively and closer, we have 3 updates on the 3 vacant lots that we own. For context, one of those lots was our first demo at 177 Murray Street, single family home, probably among the worst homes in Kingston, and the board decided to demolish the property. So Owen took care of that recently. It is demolished. It's back to grass. It looks great. So that is one single family or one lot that we own. Second one is on Teller. The third one is on Hanratty. And so we became aware of a program through the state, a new program. I won't go too far down a rabbit hole, but it's called the Home Development Program. So it has the name in it twice. But the home program is a new subset of this long-standing home program to allow for new construction, single-family affordable homes. And the subsidy amount is $250,000 per unit, which is the highest subsidy that I've seen for this type of work per unit. You can apply for up to 4 homes, and it's on a rolling basis. It's $10 million, of which we believe maybe $5 million may have been allocated, and the funding round closes at the end of October. So Owen, Kyle, Stacy, and I, and everyone else who's been interested have been putting our heads together on this to have a quick response. We didn't find out about it until recently. Owen has some updates that I won't step on at ADC, as does Kyle, but I will just say, yes, I wrote more at ADC. We're submitting in October. That's it. We have a presentation at ADC. Property sales. We have 0 properties for sale for the first period in a very long time, but that's okay. We're planning on having more sales. I expect that Kyle and I will kick off this campaign on November 1st. There's a ton of moving pieces and parts, and it's not our first rodeo. We would appreciate, as Nate said, if you have feedback on any sort of change to branding or naming or things like that. We need a few weeks to get that all squared away. So now is the time if a better idea exists. Currently, we're calling it the Affordable Homeownership Rehab Program. So rolls right off the tongue, but there's certainly more engaging ways probably to describe it.
Cons has a record of names that were the names process, et cetera, that we went through before. Could we just have that as a review?
I'll send it around.
Thank you.
Cool. So I will say, despite there will be updates at the committee level, that we are ahead of schedule. We are on budget on this program. This is sorry? We're under budget. Maybe, but it's a huge credit to Owen to manage this process and everyone else, and Stacy and Kyle and everyone involved, but like, it's a big deal that we are, you'll see some updates at ADC. I would just like to give a shout out to Owen and Kyle and Stacy, but Owen, you're working with a new contractor and an old contractor, 6 sites simultaneously. It's great, so thank you. Also, under the sales and marketing category, we have historically done our most viewed YouTube videos, which are walkthroughs of the property. Some of you may have seen those. Owen will be the face of our campaign, and we will be doing walkthroughs coming soon. So get ready. That's exactly what his hair will look like. I'm just kidding. But if anyone knows how to edit video, that would be appreciated. But if not, I think I know someone who can work with us if I make her dinner when I go. So, sorry, Eric. Tentatively, just to give you a sense of the timeline, although I think it calms, there might be more discussion on the granularity. We would anticipate, based on starting November 1st, it's a whole process. So we would have a lottery January 27th of 2025. And then we would have homes for the first 4 sales. The other 2 are the ones that are lagging, waiting on the RFP around April. So ribbon cuttings and events and all sorts of stuff around April. Very exciting way to engage with our community and with our funders and with everyone else. I will mention also that for the first time in quite some while, RUPCO is our homeownership counselor. That's a component of the work that we don't do because it's at arm's length and involves social security numbers and pay stubs and tax returns, stuff that we're not experts in doing and we're not trained to do. So RUPCO is our homeownership counselor. We look forward to working with them on this campaign. And so that was my update on sales. Potential new funding opportunities, as I touched on, there's a program called the Land Bank Initiative that was launched based on some political pressure that all the land banks put on the legislature. It was originally $25 million, and the next year was $25 million. Then this year, I don't know who was asking who, but it was $50 million. But they also asked, how much have you spent? And how does that, and this triggered this sort of like, oh no, we really have to spend this money. So it's a fun time to be working with this. It's very exciting. We really appreciate the state providing this opportunity to us. Land Bank Initiative funding also helps with our operating. There's a different subset of that money for which we're provided $200,000 a year. We just secured the latest round and yes, it's partially executed, but year 3 is secured. So that's an update on the LBI. And I probably shouldn't talk about it because it's secured because that's fine. It's okay. Sorry. So that is the LBI. Once we reach 75% of spending, we can apply for more. Kyle, I think we'll touch on the percentage spending that we have, so I don't want to take that data point away from that report. Potentially, what we think we could use it for, we'd like to lock this down fairly soon because Kyle will report we're at a fairly high percentage. Possibly that home HDP, home, the 3 new construction for pre-development, which would be like architecture and engineering and site work and yada, yada, and hard costs during construction. That's a possible part 1. 3rd Avenue, and if we win the RFP, that would be pre-development on both of those, possibly some hard costs on the RFP site as well. And then the 2 sites that I mentioned that need to clean up and new acquisitions could potentially also be on the table. So I'm almost done, I swear, I'm almost down to other. Home HDP that would be reported at at ADC, other than to say that HCR confirmed when we saw them in Albany on Friday that we can use it on this project, on the single family construction. Okay, other. Welcome to both of you. That was at the top of my list. Sorry. We have the largest requisition ever. That will come up more in finance, but big shout out to finance and everybody, and Kyle and Owen for making this run like a well-oiled machine. It's our largest amount of money that we've had to pay out in a month to our contractors. So that's great. I had reported last month on the New York Land Bank Association potentially lobbying. Sorry, this gets into acronyms. So we're part of the New York Land Bank Association. There are now 31 of us. That's an update. There used to be 30 the last time we met. So now there's 31. I can't remember who it is. But we are trying. This organization was formed under the nonprofit law, but it is a public authority. So if we are a public authority, employees can opt into the New York State retirement account for the municipal employee. We can. The comptroller of the state of New York disagrees with this. It's been an ongoing conversation, but I think the Land Bank Association is providing more and more evidence that that is the case. We have to follow public authorities law. We have to file with the Attorney General as by virtue of being a public authority, this authority budget. There's a lot more evidence on the one side that we are, but my update is that the Land Bank Association is looking for an elected champion to take this up. So I don't really have any updates. We'll see. Kyle and I went to, along with Bartek, on Friday, we went to Albany for the for the NYU Furman Center, which is a great think tank, an enterprise called the Housing Solutions Lab. Not to belabor this report too long, but I thought it was awesome to see so many smart people from municipalities get together, try to come up with commonalities. It's an 8-month-long program, so we'll be engaged on this for a while. In your board package, there are updates about the agenda and the presentation that Bartek gave that was awesome, and everybody wanted to talk to him about City of Kingston matters, and was really watching as the progressive cutting edge municipal institution that Kingston has. So as Nate mentioned, thank you very much, Novo, for operating grant. For 2 years, for the first time, we've been awarded or given the opportunity. We were just given the opportunity to apply a few hours ago, so that's the second to last step to being awarded. So and thank you, Nate, for seeing this through. This was not an easy process, and it's sometimes a little unclear what's going to come out the other end. We start our budget process in June with the understanding that I think we passed it in June. Sorry, I can't remember, but we tried to back into Novo's timeline. We never know if we're doing it right. And Nate was there every step of the way, as was everyone. So thank you. We did it again. We became aware of a $5,000 annual funding opportunity from Penrose. So thank you, Aaron. I have no updates for you on that, other than that they were supposed to announce a week ago. I'm emailing them every week. We'll see. ABO will be discussed in finance, but wanted to give Stacy a big shout out. That's a huge accomplishment every year to get us in compliance. So we did it again. We'll do it again next year. Thank you very much. There will be some other things discussed at finance that are in your board package. And I did want to highlight that the 2024 committee goals are in from our annual retreat. We have an annual retreat. Those are in your board package. I won't belabor the point, but like the committees are hitting, for the most part, a lot of the things that they said were going to take place. And so we said in January, it's amazing to see that. I thought it was worth reflecting on that. And I also wanted to ask, when do you want to do the next retreat? I'm thinking, I'll send an email just for your calendars. I'm thinking January 10th, Friday, January 10th. Take a look at it, think about it. Last year we did it sometime around January-ish, I can't remember. Other updates, so we also have an opportunity for a holiday party, which is a great way to engage with the community, among other things. Thankfully, Owen has identified a location in the Fuller Center on the ground floor. There's like a kitchen space with some seating area. He has, as always, staunchly negotiated a potential price in favor of the land bank potentially, but we have to blink first. So if folks want that, it would be in mid-December. I think we need to commit to that fairly soon. So I will send another email and be like, do you not want to do this? Please respond to this email, and then we'll at least have the space. We had talked about being on an active construction site. I know that that was a point of discussion. I don't recommend that we do that. It would just be too much, and it wouldn't be clean. And it's a great idea. Last year, we actually did it on a completed building, which was awesome. But this year, let's go somewhere that we can sit down and stuff. Sign waivers. Yeah, everyone sign insurance. He's going to want the insurance waiver. Okay, last item, just for awareness, if you know anyone, Owen has put together a great request for proposals for snow removal. It's up on our website and it's due the 18th of next month. Thank you, Owen. Those are my updates, Nate. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mike. That was very comprehensive as always. Thank you. So with that, we'll go into the committee reports. I actually have to drop off now, so I'm going to hand the baton over to our amazing Vice Chair, Aaron, to run the meeting. But I will certainly catch up with all of you later, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Nick. Hello, nice to meet you both. The first committee will be ADC, so I'll report on ADC, well, mostly they will report on ADC. But one question, I was gonna share my screen, but I can't figure out how to get the Zoom link to work. Maybe you could share your screen?
Sure.
Or share, I was just gonna share.
If they were gonna, if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
one of their documents.
Kyle and Owen, would you mind sharing the documents that you circulated to ADC when you talk? Okay.
Does Owen go first and then else?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense to me. So I think the first things we'll report on are the construction and finance updates for the AHR
PTBD.
the affordable homes, the 6 homes that we're currently rehabbing. 4 of which are under construction, 2 of which will be under construction. So I hand it over to Owen to to start that process off.
All right. Thanks, everybody. So yeah, as mentioned, we are under construction on these 6 houses, and while it's both the kind of calm feeling period because things are going all right, it's also, as Mike mentioned, one of our busiest periods of construction that we've never had before. So I'll share the screen to show you what I was sharing with the ADC committee.
Can you zoom in maybe a little bit, Owen, with Mike? At least for me, I need reading glasses. So. It's not everybody's situation.
That's what I got.
Looks great.
So, overall context, catching people up that haven't been thinking about it or are new to this. We've got 4 houses that are basically actively under construction this second half of this year, which are these 4: Chapel Abbey, Stefan, and Gill. We have 2 houses that are mostly being worked on in this first half of next year, which is Grand Street and Hasbrook Avenue. We are about a quarter way through the construction process as far as dollars out the door, which lines up roughly with work in place. And you can see on this line the dates that we're expecting substantial completion. So it's not necessarily every little thing complete, but most of the important things complete by these dates. Again, it's these 4 that are finishing mostly this year. They have substantial completion dates end of January, mid-February of next year. And then Grand and Hasbrook have substantial completion dates at the end of July of next year, 2025. It's usual for us to keep like a 10% contingency on contracted hard costs when we go into the project. We have like a 8 something percent contingency on this project, but we're a quarter way through, and right now we're at negative 2% movement or in projected negative 1%, which meaning our contingency is growing rather than being expended.
Because I asked you at the committee meeting how that's possible. I guess the reason that's possible, and oh, correct me if this is how you would explain it, is basically because we're using reduced scope by small amounts based on existing conditions in the building as they've taken stuff, as they've done demo and started their work. So as the scope has gone down, the total construction cost, contract award to it has gone down very slightly, increasing the contingency very slightly. So that's a big, so.
So, that's great. You know, it's basically, it's not our, it's not the usual course of business and not our usual course of business. All the projects we've worked on, we'll end up having to, you know, deal with things that come up during construction with contingency. These projects, I think we will, you know, we're in a rosy point with it right now, but there will be things that come up that we'll have to deal with. So, you know, we will dip into this, but it's a strong place to be in, considering that some of these projects are well underway and a lot of the issues that might cost us extra money have been, you know, discovered and plans have been figured out to deal with them. So, trying to think what else to say about AHRP houses. Yeah, they're in various states. I mean, you can see, I mean, Gill is the one that's like lagging behind a little bit. This is real that it's like a little bit behind schedule. It is, and it's, you know, it's the intention is to try to catch it back up. And you can see kind of a spread between Chapel, which is actually moving quite far along. Abby's trailing quite closely behind it. And then Stefan is, you know, working on catching up, and Gil is the one that's trailing a little bit behind. But so yeah, we've got some houses which are kind of like gutted and being framed, and other houses which are getting drywall this week. So we got a little bit of a spread. And yeah, we've got exciting potential things coming up, exploring new construction opportunities. I think Mike mentioned we're putting in that funding for those application for those 3 lots, and right now we're just trying to gather some pricing information to kind of check our assumptions about what it might cost to build small houses on those lots.
Let's come back to the home stuff. Let's go through this just to not confuse the, let's finish this project and then come back to home. But one question, Owen, what's it been like working with a new contractor on the 2 homes? Has it been easy to work with? What? What'd you say?
Yeah, it's been fine. They have their own style for working, and but we've been getting along fine and communicating fine.
Okay.
Because we have 2 new members, we should probably share that if they have any interest in seeing these sites, that they should contact you directly and potentially could set up somewhat of a tour.
Yeah,
I know you're active construction sites in some cases, but.
totally. Paul, I toured through 4 of the houses recently, but I'm happy to set up another one soon. So so Sarah or anybody can jump on. So we'll do that. We'll do another one this fall for sure.
If you do that, if you could just let us know, that'd be great, you know.
Yep.
There to go or something. I've always wanted to just drive around and look at all of the properties, like get a sense of where all of the properties are in relationship to each other and in relationship to different parts of Kingston. And now I don't even have to pretend I can do that because I can't drive. So, you know, but I just think it would be great, you know, every now and again to have kind of a catch up on where we really are.
Yeah.
Because the more we do, the more of a presence we have overall in Kingston and in different neighborhoods, and they all have their own song to sing, as I'm learning in Kingston. So, yeah, count me in. That's what I'm saying.
So before we start Owen, just to note that the 4 homes that are in construction, those are the 4 homes that will start a marketing campaign for later this fall. And then the other 2 will do another marketing campaign when they're further along. So, yeah. Anything else on these 6, or if not, I'll move over to Kyle to talk about the requisitioning and financing on those properties?
Nope, nothing more. For me.
Thank you, Aaron.
Cool. All right. So, for a little bit of context here, Owen just presented how far we are in the construction of these 6 homes. I'm presenting the financing of these 6 homes. We have 4 different funding sources: the Land Bank Initiative, ARPA, the federal funds, the KCLB equity, and Novo funds. And we're just planning on submitting our 8th requisition this week. As Mike mentioned, it's our largest requisition to date, $387,000 of just the construction cost. There's going to be additional costs on top of that. Yeah, this represents the construction cost, but also things like acquisition, redevelopment, other things outside of the hard costs that Owen just presented on. But yeah, up here, this represents the whole project level. And then this is included in the board package, but we have the individual property balances and the individual requisitions below. But big picture, we're trying to draw down on this LBI funding as fast as we can. As Mike mentioned earlier, once we hit the 75% target, we're able to apply for additional funding under this program. So we're at about 47%. That's actually just on this project. We have some LBI funds going to the Third Avenue project as well, and we're just over 50% drawn on those funds at the project organizational level. But yeah, on track, like Owen mentioned. And yeah, still ways to go in LBI funding, but we're going to start drawing down on these other funds soon as we start using up the rest of the LBI funds.
When you presented all this before construction started, you showed us like your kind of master list of your master requisitioning spreadsheets and all of the kind of nuances of when different sources of funding had to be used by and the requisition process for each of them. I assume that once LBI is done, you can't just like, I assume that there are rules in place based, expectations in place based on some of the other funding sources that you have to move through them in some strict manner, like you have to go to ARPA next before you, because, I don't know, of the city's rules, or can you just do what is easiest at that point?
I actually think the main impetus here is not like a defined order, but just trying to spend these funds down as fast as possible and the level of urgency. Like LBI, we just want to be able to request more funds, so we're just trying to spend that down as fast as possible. And then ARPA has a deadline. Mike, can you, I don't have the number on the top of my head.
2025.
So we'll meet that regardless of anything.
That is
Great.
okay.
So yeah, LBI, then ARPA, then Novo, then developer equity, last.
Any questions anybody has about this? Again, you can look at each building, if you scroll down. Great, then I think the last thing, we have a short ADC agenda for today. We'll have, I think, more next month when there are updates on the RFP and other things, but for now, the last thing is this home program, which would be probably our first small scale new construction to the 4 vacant lots that Mike mentioned at the beginning. And so this is, there we go, that's what I was gonna pull up. Kyle and Owen, I'm happy to talk through what you talk to us, but you have it up. Why don't you walk us through the program?
Sure. Mike covered a lot of this in the beginning, but just to reiterate, this is a state program that allows for new construction. It's kind of similar to the stuff we've done to date. There's an 80% AMI household requirement. And we're planning on using this for our 3 lots. We're looking at 1 1-bedroom site, 2 2-bedroom sites for a total of around $700,000 in home buyer development program funds. There's $10 million in total funds available. We got some intel that there have been 5 applications submitted to date. So it seems like there's still opportunity to get in on this, and Mike and I are working on the application now, hoping to submit that soon. But exciting program, new construction. Trying to think, is there anything else I'm missing here, Mike, that we should hit on?
What is the construction type anticipated?
Timeline?
No, construction type.
Great question. So Owen is investigating both modular, pricing for modular and on-site construction, so stick built.
You drafted essentially some like scopes of work and floor plans for 1 and 2 bedrooms, and is having a price for each one of them.
And Owen, you're seeking bids to come back by the end of this month, I think?
Yeah, they're not bids, but yes,
you're right.
we're getting pricing feedback by the end of this month, and yeah, hoping for both site built and modular options, and hoping to use that to make our application more accurate.
I don't know that this is the right place to bring this up or even the right moment, but I'm assuming that in this case, we would be able to pay more attention to accessibility, ADA requirements and things like that, because it's new construction.
Yeah.
Things that we can't often do when we're renovating homes, because they don't provide us with an opportunity to do, we just can't do that. But I would be hoping that that would be part of what we'd be looking for, Owen, in these smaller houses, you know?
It might be, I'm sorry, Owen, go ahead. You probably know the answer. I don't know, I don't remember if we have to do it or if we can't do it. Financially, feasibility is the trigger. But adaptability versus accessibility, probably a conversation.
Yeah, you go, Rebecca.
No, I'm just saying accessibility is an important thing. We often can't work hard at it because we don't have the kind of properties that we can do it at. But if we're doing it in new construction, I hope that we would keep an eye on, you know, accessibility design, accessibility oriented design, and, you know, I don't know whether there's actually funding to support that, or I don't know, which is something that's, as I understand it, is not something we can often do. And in this case, it's maybe something that we can do. I mean, you know, Owen, you and I have talked about it before, you know, could we put, you know, accessible showers or, you know, counter heights or something on certain floors in houses that we've rehabbed, and we just really can't usually do that, you know? So I'm hoping this would be an opportunity for us to create more accessible housing as well as smaller and more affordable housing. That's my thought, yeah. And then maybe that's a source of funding as well, support or something.
We're always shaking the trees.
Shaking the tree. Looking for more money. And so the development home 780 plus KCLB equity, that's what we think where the funds will come from to do this? Is that what that means, Kyle or whoever?
That is what that means. There's also, since I think this was, document was produced for the ADC meeting that was on Thursday at 4 p.m. and by Friday at 10 a.m. we confirmed that the LBI money could be used as a source as well. So,
Okay.
but that would be a third possible funding source. They're not looking for us to get construction financing. They're not looking for the other normal sources of funding for affordable home ownership. You can't put it into this program. They just want you to use this program, and LBI money. So we shall see.
I think this is super exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also a delicate piece of growth. It's like going to high school, you know, like kind of grammar school is a little easier. High school is like, it's a bigger, or college maybe, it's a big step. So.
And just to highlight something you asked at our committee meeting, Rebecca, was about why are we doing single family homes and on these lots? You know, it's because it just to know for everybody, it's because one is because the lots are all small, and two, it's because it's what the program allows. I think it's worth noting that as well. But as you just said again, it's a good way to ease into new construction.
Yeah. I mean, Third Avenue is a place where we can look at different kinds of things.
It's like, yeah, just go straight to major.
I think also some of the cool things about this program that we haven't been able to do before, to access smaller household sizes. Whenever we sell homes, we always get, I'm a single person household or a two-person household, and that's not what we do. When we do the rehabs, we're trying to maximize the largest household sizes because otherwise it's too expensive to build new construction for an 8-person or 6-person household, but we have offered homes for sale for households of that size. And the households that have moved in have been larger size. So we'll be able to meet that. I think it speaks to possibly a narrative around existing residents or people in the area or something that live in homes that are too large and they're aging in place in their homes and they're underutilized space in their homes. And they're like, I don't want to deal with this. I want to be in Kingston. I want to be near my family, my community, but I want something small. I want a ranch.
Or younger people.
Or exactly.
Yeah.
That's the other piece. Totally.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it too.
It's not first time.
It's not first time home buyer. The program does not require it. Yeah, thank you for catching it. No, that was something we didn't know until we got into it. Yeah, it's interesting. This program has been around for about maybe 50 years, the home program. This is a subset of the home program, and everyone at the state, they've just revived this program, and everyone who's there has never worked on this program before. So they know that the answers exist within this ancient program. They just don't know the answers necessarily off the top of it. So exactly, we'll find out together.
I think I really am super excited about the different kind of homes and the different kind of people that could apply to be in them.
Yeah.
If there's no questions, oh, go ahead, sorry, Owen.
I said at the ADC committee that I feel like we're like just a little bit short of the punchline on this, which is, we're like almost to the point where we understand whether we feel like it's feasible, and then after that we'll be almost to the point where we understand whether we have access to the funding. So yeah, right now I think it's just trying to get everybody to understand kind of what we're shooting for and why we're kind of going after these smaller homes to test the idea, see if it's feasible for us to do new construction, leveraging this state funding and trying to serve some kinds of households that we haven't been serving as much. And news to follow.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Kyle. With that, unless there are any other questions, we can move on from ADC to finance and audit.
Awesome. I just would like to say, but the finance committee would like to say that there's this remarkable fiscal stability and organization in this leadership that's quite extraordinary in an environment, but a fiscal environment, a building environment, a world where things are changing all the time. There is almost never a tempest in a tea kettle here. That there, it's extraordinary to me that you manage doing all of this work with the degree of clarity and financial stability and organization that you do. So I just want to make sure that y'all as a board are really aware of that clarity of purpose and leadership and organization in what is a teeny tiny team of people. And I'm always sad that there's no office because I always would like to stand around and just like watch it operate. But I think it's exciting what you do. And the other general thing I want to say is that work at the quality that you guys have designed and produced with the money that we find and the money that you raise is something greater in this area, I think, than equity, which is very important, or even housing, but also provides a social determinant of health, right? That these are families that are happy, stabilized in houses that are cared for and well built and will be easier to live in long term. And I've been talking to some of the people that are working in Red Hook, and certainly the sense of keeping people in homes that provide them with security and stability and pleasure even is something that's very important that this organization does. So yeah, nice doorknobs mean something. So that's what I'm saying. And it's also a lot of bang for your buck, right? So this is money and funding that is acquired and well managed. So just so you know what the finance committee does every month, and Barbara has been chairing since I was in Europe, bouncing around. doing other work. So thank you, Barbara, so much. But what we do is go with a pretty fine tooth comb over the beautiful documents that Stacy produces. And what we're looking for is, are we staying on budget? Are there any anomalies? Do we have enough money to do what it is that we should be doing? Is the money going to come in at the time that we need it to be done? And so I could say, yeah, oh, that's good. That's really what my report is. Yeah, all of that is good. And I think that most of these things that I have on this list have also been covered already. You know, we've had big requisitions come in well. ARPA Cities 1 and Cities 2 are all moving along just as we would like them to do. I would like to compliment the strategic cash management, which garnered a substantial amount of money simply by how we managed our cash on hand. Our grant year-to-date income is $1.5 million, more or less, so that's pretty great. Year-to-date revenue is 2 million with an exclamation point next to it. And significant equity return as well. So yeah, so we're on the way. I do think the finance committee and leadership has its eye on operating costs for the next several years and how the budget, you know, some of our funding sources did not present in the way that we might have wanted them to do. And so they gave us, you know, what they thought was right. And then we might have to find some other cash to bolster that. But it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike and Stacy, but it seems like we got our eye on the possibility that we might be short in operating funds, and we're looking for where that might come from. So other than that, I think we're in good shape. I'll be interested to see how the shift in the interest rate affects all kinds of things like mortgages and banking and all of that fun stuff. So that will be interesting. We did, as we said before, several people have said, we did the audit pass through with no problem, and we did file taxes, and we did also file the ADO reporting. So that makes us very tidy and tidied up. We do need, though, in this committee to vote on the journal entry policy. I bounced that document to you guys right before the meeting, but it would be, we would like to take this policy to the board and have the board vote on adopting it. The articulation of the policy is simply a verbal articulation of what's already in place, right? In terms, and was not a problem that came up in the audit, but just an observation from the audit process that this would be a good thing for us to have, right? To have a formal journal entry policy. Stacy or Mike, do you want to explain more what it is? I mean, it's just how we do our bookkeeping.
Normal industry standard journal entry process that Stacy and I have been doing since we started working together. We just would appreciate being able to slide a piece of paper over.
So the process is outlined, is quite standard. It's what's already in place, and I would suggest that we vote on it to accept it. You'll notice at the end of that policy, I think it says that we can amend it at any time. So if there is some reason for us meaning the board needs to come in to amend something because we think we should, we can do that. Given it's
With noting that it authorizes Stacy to create journal entries, and then Mike has to approve them by the 15th of the following month, 15 days at the end of the following month. So nobody else can create or approve journal entries but the two of them, which is already what was happening. Is that, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the reason that we don't go over the entries in the board meeting, we quite do is simply because it would take too long. And also because it has kind of a sort of, I think a kind of rhythm of cash flow that is complicated given the work that we're doing. So that's why we like the top-down approach, right? The whole requisition process is kind of complicated, and there are things that bills that come in at a year, like anyone's bookkeeping, right? Things you pay by the year, and things you pay by the month, and things you pay in advance, and things you pay later, all of that. So back to the journal entry. I would move to accept the journal entry. Is that how we should do buy this pizza? Yeah.
You have to wait till the next meeting, or can we do it in this
Excuse me, what?
I'm just was curious if there had to be like a discussion period.
Like a read,
Like a
Yeah.
public discussion period?
Yeah.
well,
like a
like
read,
sometimes
and
we have
then
to,
we would-
we have to vote on something like the following month. But this we can accept tonight, we don't have to wait till next month to accept it.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
asking that. I'm not always up on my roberts. So can we move forward with this? Yeah? So why don't you second it here?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, great. So we've adopted this journal entry. Thank you. And that's it.
I think we also need to vote to accept your treasurer's report.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to do this. So, should we vote to accept? I move to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Treasurer's report is accepted.
Thank you for reminding me.
Oh, thank you, Joanne. Next up, we will go to comms. What update?
So we discussed the upcoming marketing campaign for the 4 homes. We discussed maybe doing our first billboard
Wow.
to try that out instead of last time we tried the bus, now we're gonna try the billboard. We talked about some events.
Comparable in price?
I was like, what is your?
Well, the price is TBD, so. We might end up asking
Spray paint.
That'd be amazing.
And yeah, there's, a whole, shout out to Kyle for once again organizing a spreadsheet on the campaign. The one other aspect we talked about was now we're working with Repco, as the counselor for this round. And we also discussed that this time we really need to be quite purposeful in reaching out to everyone that has applied in previous marketing periods, because there are hundreds of families on that list already. Making sure they're aware of this opportunity and that we're clear about what they need to do. We also discussed the length of the campaign. So we said maybe until December 15th, possibly so it'll be a 45-day window to apply. And then there would be another 45-day window or so. Yeah, less than that.
We have to confirm with
Yeah.
Repco, so what we were hoping was to internally confirm our timelines to be able to start the campaign, but before that, probably within 2 weeks, we would reach out with the marketing materials to give to Repco. We'd reach out, we've already confirmed the internal process.
Yeah.
Then they have their own processes, so when we finish our marketing, how long does it take them to have those files ready for a lottery? That's the timeline that we need to know. We think it's 45 days, like you said, Bartek?
That's right. What does that mean? 45 days, December 15th?
Yeah, we were saying.
We were saying this, it kind of brings us, if the holidays come by, like, December 15th,
Exactly.
January 1st, nothing's gonna happen. So,
We may have a lottery in February,
Okay.
because it's monthly instead of board meetings, so we may lose a month.
okay,
And then the other timeline that we can know is after the lottery, how long to be ready to purchase a home. Traditionally, that's been 60 days with the other groups that we work with. Is that realistic? So some are longer, some are faster, some, you don't know. It's a lot of work that goes into that, and it's kind of a black box for us, so.
Yeah.
Although Kyle and I are working very closely, talking, standing meetings with the homeownership counselor every 2 weeks, and we have eyes on it, but sometimes someone doesn't return a phone call for 2 weeks, asking for documents. And what do you do? So, we'll see.
Is Repco gonna do marketing first?
No, it's all, the land bank doing the marketing is kind of the piece that we've signed up for.
Okay.
So the land bank does the marketing, land bank has the website that gets the registration page. Land bank feeds those leads to Repco, land bank does all the outreach and the evening meetings and the radio shows and the press release, and Kyle can jump in with the 8,000 other billion things. The federal USPS mailers that go to specific targeted households based on income and household size. We do all of that. I think we're really good at doing that, and maybe there's a way to like JV on that in the future, but it seemed like,
I just thought they would have a bigger list than we, but.
I don't know. That's true. I think we have about 1,000 people on our list. So it's a pretty good starting place.
I mean, it's important that we stay the face of this lottery and resell, right? It's important that we stay in control of the message, I think, rather than Repco. because we're responsible for it, we appreciate the support, but it is our responsibility. So.
We also, the second item is we talked about our campaign for 52 grand, which is the effort to raise at least $30,000 to make that home, 3-bedroom home,
3-bedroom.
more affordable. And we have some runway with that because the home isn't going to be sold until, or marketed until the spring. So we are planning on launching that campaign ASAP, possibly as early as this week. Mike, just before this,
I saw it.
sent you some language.
Yep.
I think Barbara, next time she walks her dog, is gonna send us some pictures of the home.
Cool.
And we'll kind of back into that campaign. Soft launch. That's all the main takeaways from comms.
Is there possibly a social mixer thing, or is that too soon?
Oh, yes, we also talked about hosting a tabling / mixer at Rough Draft on November 1st. Barbara, though you mentioned they have music happening that night.
Yeah, they asked if we could do a different night, either they offered up the 9th. Or they said we could do it the week, like, the same week as the first, earlier in the week, just not Thursday, which is Halloween.
Yeah. Okay, let's chat, we can chat about that. I like the idea of the 9th, but we can chat about that, Barbara.
Okay.
Is that Saturday or the
I
9th?
think a week night would be better because it's a low, like it's.
Yeah, that was our intention. Is the 9th, is that?
The 9th is Saturday, the 9th of November is a Saturday.
Okay.
If that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, let me just see. She said Friday the 9th, so she may have meant the 8th, but she said Friday. Specifically.
So I hope you'll reach out for volunteers if you need support.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, maybe Barbara, if you could confirm that it's actually the 8th. And then if it is, I say we book it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you. Anything else for comments from anyone? Okay.
Thank you, Bartek. With that, governance.
So, so we are currently in conversation about some potential changes in our bylaws to make sure that there's no potential conflicts of interest or the appearance of conflicts that there's bad optics, right? So this is about former board members potentially applying to purchase a home from the land bank and/or the land bank working with a former board member as like a better capacity after the. So we're discussing that. I don't think that there's anything to report out.
No, but maybe for context, this is the one where we have to have one reading of it, and then we can vote on it at the next meeting. It's the bylaw amendments. Yeah.
That's all.
And we invite it to the board members.
And we and yes,
And-
when and if you'd like to do it.
Yeah. Officially change the website to say that the board is now full, but we're still
Wow.
accepting applications.
That has been done.
For a few months until Bartek. I'm sorry. Okay, so governance, we're gonna skip the last one, governance and move to design. Who's designed?
Design, but I don't think we met.
Okay.
Right?
We
It
meet
was-
on
I
Thursday.
don't even think it was canceled. Oh, that's what's coming. Okay. But we're just, I mean, we're in the process of being assigned homes. We've all been assigned our homes. So the main aspect of design is fielding like change order questions as quickly as possible.
Great.
And nothing, and still working on the handbook as a general concept.
So the methodology, I'm sorry, is the committee members have been assigned sort of design supervision of certain home projects?
We've each, well, at the time there was 3 members, so we've each been assigned 2 of the 6 homes.
Awesome.
And so Owen speaks to each of us on a certain home to, as far as like a point person. Um,
And we still have a design book, you know,
We
or
don't.
protocol that we start with.
no, so that's the thing that we've been discussing is sort of,
What you're thinking of is the homeowner manual that one created.
I'm not, that's
You're
not what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
I thought, I read a long time ago, maybe I thought it was this part of my life,
We do have
Um,
one.
that you have a booklet that says, this is the kind of windows we put in, these are the kind of things that we use as a rule, this is the kind of renovation we'd like to do, and what else.
as part of our goals for the committee, we discussed creating something more like that, and then decided that we actually are changing that. I know we have something like
Yeah,
it, but we thought we would go to that instead, but not necessarily as like, this is what we use, more as just like something to reference. And that we're not gonna have it be it's gonna be a little bit different, and we're not really, because we don't want there to be like, okay, like, it's definitely not gonna be public. It's also just gonna be like a reference, because we don't want to say like, oh yeah, we just plug these things into these homes that specifically.
I thought it was kind of groovy. I thought I mean, I thought that there was a beginning place, a place to begin, right, with each. So I read it and I thought it was interesting, and to the extent that I was sort of a fan of there being an overarching design direction that gave us a place of beginning in each home, so we didn't start from scratch. But that may not be a useful conversation, but that's what I was trying to figure out, like whether your job was actually to be sort of the intermediary between the exact situation, things that we've done before, what the budget is, or.
No, we're working with designers, so part of it is reaching out to the designer who designed the home, seeing if they have input. And then also, as part of the work, is looking at the construction document, seeing what was put there, what might have been used in the past, if that applies in this situation. So it's not just like a plug-in kind of thing. And it is something that we have discussed over many meetings, and we've actually gone in the opposite direction of what we had originally thought we might want to do with that.
And who are the designers? I mean, I remember when I used to go to those community meetings.
I don't know them by name.
I think that for context on the history of this, I think we had started with a design committee that was very different in composition than it currently is as far as members, and a different approach and all that. But we were bidding out the work, and we were asking for help via Instagram from various designers who may or may not have signed up. I think they did, but that process culminated in a set of plans that were bid out. And that was the last interaction that anyone had with those designers, but I don't think we really knew who they were and what level of involvement they had. For full context, we had a previous highly engaged board chair who would do a lot of it. And so that process happened, we bid it out, and now we're looking at it differently.
So some of the houses do have designers that actually were actively involved, so we're reaching out to them in those moments.
And are we paying them, or are they volunteering their time?
They volunteer.
Was that old book, a book that Daniel created?
You did, okay.
Yeah, it's still on the website.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just.
And Daniel's still on the the
Yeah.
design committee, so, you know, it's not, it's all been, it's been actively worked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at some point, I would love at a general board meeting to get a sense of the designers and what they're doing. Is that an appropriate request, or should I just come to the design meeting?
I think where we, sorry, Joanna,
Please, no.
Paul, I just, my recollection was that there was a request to identify the designers, and then that was never granted, and so we don't really know. It's weird, but we don't know who the designers are because we never got the names. So I think we can say confidently that the vast majority of it came from our former board chair, who I know directly was involved in saying, like, trying to cajole people, and then they didn't follow through, and then he would do all the work just like he always has. I think Daniel is probably a great point person for the history of who had been the designers, but he's no longer the designer on the projects in the design committee. Is that
And
makes
he's been assigned 2 properties.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Grant.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, he's been assigned Brandon Hasbrook as the point person on those properties.
Daniel.
Daniel.
Okay.
And then Chapel and Gill, and Nate is on the other 2 properties that we.
I'm sorry, could you
And
speak
has-
up a little bit?
I just said, I'm on Chapel and Gill. Daniel is on which ones?
Brand and Hasbro.
Brandon Hasbrook, and Nate has the other two properties, Abby. and- What?
Stefan.
Yes, exactly.
The goal, so for after this, then, after, this would kind of, now that we have a new design process, now that Daniel is just a member of the design committee and not,
Yeah.
this new document would be,
I guess we just don't want there to be a document that is essentially like, cause it's not, you know, we just like where we source different things, and it's just like, we want it to not necessarily be as much of like a condensed, like something that can be transferred around, because it is more case by case, and so I think that's just like what we're working with right now as far as our vision for how we're going to use these materials going forward, and especially now that we're entering into potentially a phase of new development, it really is a question for the design committee and to work with Owen is, you know, since we're moving out of the space of restoring old homes, what is the aesthetic of these properties that we're building, and how do we, you know, as sort of like an identifying thing as it being like the character of Kingston, maintaining the character of Kingston. That's gonna be something that we have to come together and figure out as a design committee, and, you know, in a broader sense of the board and the work that everyone's doing is, what are these homes gonna look like that we're potentially developing from scratch? Yeah, so it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting.
and with that, I think we have finished all the committees. Public comments, there are no members of the public here. And so with that, new business, any questions or things you two have for us tonight? Shall we move to adjourn? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? We are adjourned.